And we were just, immersed immediately in the responsibilities of raising an infant. I mean, they can't turn their heads. They can't wipe their diapers off or whatever. You have to do that. Has any dad ever been like, I can't believe I put my hands places where I've put my hands? I had that experience the first year of my life. What am I doing? I can't believe I'm doing this. But that's what it is. You do for the kid. He can't eat unless you put something in his mouth. He can't do anything unless you do it for him. That's the early part of life. Now, we still do a lot of doing for our kids even after they grow past the infant stage, correct? Anybody still doing for their kids? Yeah, okay. That needs to taper off, and I wish I had time to preach that a little bit more. Some of us are enabling our kids. That's what doing for can lead to in sin. But I'll talk about that later. Let's move on. The second phase, once you get past the infancy stage of childhood, is the do to our kids. We do to them. At least we're supposed to. I remember sitting in an airport once, watching a mom with a 2-year-old. If you don't believe in sin nature, go to the 2-year-old room right now at our church. These kids can't talk, they can't read, they can't learn. They do, but they have innately inside of them selfishness. And they know, even at the age of 2, how to push buttons and manipulate and get what they want. Anybody testify? Anybody with me? All right. And it's always been funny to me. I remember it's happened in other times, but I remember watching this woman once at an airport. She was a Spanish-speaking lady. She was talking to her mija, I don't know. Anyway, she kept saying this thing to her. I'm not Hispanic. Anyway, she kept saying this to the little kid there, trying to get this kid to do what she wanted, but the kid was having none of it. And the mom would not. The kid's like 12 pounds, this little 2-year-old. And I'm thinking in my head, hey, pick that kid up and put it in its chair. Shut it up. It's making me crazy. It's making everybody in this waiting area crazy. Chica, get the hija out of here. What's up, Eli? How you doing? Yeah, it makes me insane when parents don't understand that their role with these kids is not to let them run over them. It's for them to run them. It's for them to do to them, to disciple. And all the kids are going to be sitting here like, oh, man, it's this sermon. No, listen, kids, you're happiest when your parents are fulfilling their God-given role as your shaper. You really are. Studies have been made of suburban families who have adolescent to later early 20s or whatever children who just go completely stark raving crazy. They rebel and do all these things. Now listen, they did these studies. Guess what they found out? The kids are spoiled. Whoa, really? Yeah, their moms and dads never told them no. Their moms and dads always cleaned up after their messes. Their moms and dads, when they did wrong in school, they went and berated the teachers because Junior could obviously never make a mistake. Now, these kids grew up with this false sense of imperviousness. I'm perfect. Everybody else is wrong. I'm right. And you know what happened around middle school? They got into peer relationships where they weren't number one on their peer relationship list like they were with their parents. They got into high school and they weren't the number one in their classes anymore. They got into working jobs and things like that, and they weren't treated like they were the boss. And you know the frustration that got inside these kids' hearts? It just welled up to the point where they were angry. And you know who are they angry at? Who are they angry at? Their parents. Subconsciously, kids have this, just so you know, I believe that God puts this, his imprint on all of our lives. If you're sitting here this morning and you don't know God yet through a relationship with Jesus Christ, He's in you, His imprint, the data is in there, and you know what's right and wrong. And so even though you grow up, let's say in this kind of environment where you're enabled and coddled and never allowed to fail, you know that that's not right. And when you finally come up against failure in life and you have no skills with which to handle it, our kids don't know how to be disappointed a lot of times, parents. We need to teach them that disappointment is a real thing, and they have to be able to handle it. But when kids have gotten to the stage where they're disappointed and they never had to handle it before, they blame their parents. It's because they know their parents didn't parent them the way they were supposed to be parented. Are you with me? Yeah, we have to do to our kids. Now, this is a part our relationship with our children once they leave our homes, too. You know, I talked earlier about enabling our kids. Some of us as adults are enabling our adult children not to grow up. And we have to be careful about that. We want to love our kids and provide for them. Don't get me wrong. I'm a very kind and loving man, and I hope to always be involved in my children's lives appropriately. But I'm not going to enable them, I pray. I'm not going to be someone who condones, bad behavior and is a party to a child moving forward in those behaviors. We'll talk more about that later, too. How about this last one? We do for, we do to, and we do with. Many of us sit here this morning, we're in this phase. When a kid leaves the elementary years of school typically and heads into adolescence, there's this progressive laying off of the hands. You're not doing for or to them as much. You're more partnering with them. The goal is for a kid to leave, right? And you want that kid to leave, parents, prepared to be responsible in the world that he goes to. And so for that kid to be able to be responsible in that world, you need to start taking your hands off while he's in your world. And there needs to be more and more responsibility gradually given to them so that you're walking with them and not in front of them or dragging them behind you. You with me? Yeah, these are the three phases we go through. And so this morning as we talk, I want to talk about how God wants us to handle our kids in all of these phases. So here, if you're just starting like these couples that were on the stage, if you're feeling like you're almost done because your kids are out of your home, I want you to understand that God still wants us to impart His principles to our kids at any stage. And these are the things He wants us to do. We're going to talk particularly in the area of discipline. So you ready? Here we go. Question is this: why do parents discipline their kids? Why do we say no to our children? Why do we shape their lives? We do it for two reasons. One, we do it for the sake of the children. Read this proverb with me, right off the screens. Everybody, full voice. Here we go. Discipline your son, for in that there is hope. Do not be a willing party to his death. Stop right there. Did you get the wisdom in that? Here's what happens if you don't discipline your children, parents. If you become a party, an enabler to their bad behaviors, you are a contributor to their death. Dun, 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 dun. I mean, isn't that true? I just told you about the study. An enabling mother creates an angry child who goes off and makes bad choices. We need to be committed to discipline so that our kids can avoid the kind of pitfalls in life that they could eventually face. When my little sister Erin was about 3 years old, she got up in the bathroom medicine closet or medicine cabinet, whatever, the mirror thing, where my dad kept his shavers. Now, they didn't used to have like the 4 blades Schick Quattro. That's what I use. Very nice. Very nice. But they had the old-fashioned ones where you actually had to put the old-fashioned razor blades. You had the dual side. You could flip it around. Anybody with me on this? Okay. Now, my dad always kept his actual razor in his medicine kit locked up where the kids can't get to it, but he left the razor blades in the medicine cabinet. So 3-year-old Erin climbs up on there, opens it up, finds the razor. Oh, she's like, this is what Dad shaves with. And she proceeded to shave herself with the razor blades. Oh, yeah. All the moms are like, oh, yeah. And she took about 3 or 4 layers of epidermis off of her cheeks. And I still remember it. I was like 4 or 5 years old, and I remember it because I was right behind my mom. I remember seeing my sister and all the blood and stuff that she had produced on her face and being like, oh, it's like my first horror movie. It's like, oh, my sister, don't make her head spin. Anyway, but then my mom was right behind me because I said, Mom, 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 and Mom came right behind me. Now, Mom didn't come in and say, oh, Erin, bad choice, wow. Oh, you are a bloody mess. Boy, I mean, if I were you, I wouldn't be doing that. But hey, I'm just going to be out here knitting. And no, she didn't say that. She lost her mind. I mean, she just had a conniption. I don't know what they are, I don't know the actual, but she had one. She just went off. And she said things about my dad I can't repeat, but she just went off. And she said, and she looked Erin right in the face as she's cleaning the blood off of her, cheeks and said, we will not do this again, ever again. You will never, and to this day, Erin's, she's got the hairiest legs, it's horrible, but that's extra. All right, no, she's a beautiful woman. Erin, if you're watching this, I love you. All right.